Hey everyone, what's up, and welcome into Best on the Board here on The Athletic on Monday, September 20th. Michael Beller and Andrew DeWitt here with you to take you through our favorite early Week 3 lines. As we are getting ready for one more Week 2 game between the Lions and the Packers on Monday Night Football, we're taking a look ahead to the ones you're going to want to jump on for Week 3 now before we anticipate they move against the way that we are going. DeWitt, how did Week 2 Sunday treat you, my friend?
Week 2 treated me pretty well. I had, like yourself, I had the Panthers plus 3.5 against the Saints. That was a pretty easy win. Always nice when you're like, oh, this is locked in, even before the fourth quarter starts. Even if the Saints had come back, I don't see them covering the 3.5 points there. So that was a good one for us, and I'm ready to dive into Week 3.
Yeah, we were coasting in Saints and Panthers, so that one definitely felt nice. And we can look back to where we were 1 week ago at this spot and track our records from there. A 1-1 week for you last week. You were all over Denver at -6 against Jacksonville a week ago. Didn't creep up too much from that number, but another one that you felt pretty comfortable about throughout with the Broncos covering the 6 against the Jaguars. You were also on Miami plus 3.5 over Buffalo. That one didn't exactly work out with a 35-0 win for the Bills. But hey, I've got nothing to laugh at. I was 0-2 a week ago in this spot. A week ago, I said grab the Chiefs -2.5 against Baltimore. I grabbed him there. I grabbed him at -3 as well. And for, 56 minutes of that game, I was thinking, This is beautiful. And then Lamar Jackson works his magic. They get a little bit of help from the Chiefs. And ultimately, not only does my -2.5, my -3 fall, but the Chiefs fall as well straight up with the Ravens pulling out a 1-point victory. I was also on Washington -4.5 against the Giants in that one. Not coming through either. So you're at 1-1 heading into Week 3. I am at 0-2. Let's jump in to our favorite early Week 3 lines. Of course, all of these coming to us from our partners at BetMGM. DeWitt, the first one that you are looking at that you want to lock in well before these games kick off.
I think this is pretty much the marquee game of the week next week. One of them, at least. Chiefs.
Yeah, one of them.
Chiefs hosting the Chargers in a 1 p.m. start kickoff. Obviously it's a big game after both teams fell on Sunday with the Chiefs losing to the Ravens, as you talked about, and the Chargers falling to the Cowboys at home. I think both pretty frustrating losses for both teams. Yeah. And, the AFC West, now you have Denver 2-0. The Raiders are 2-0. You have all these teams, and this is like a really big game early in the season, divisional game. AFC West looks like it's one of the strongest divisions in NFL right now. So, I look at this game and I go, Justin Herbert is the real deal. Had a great game yesterday against a defense that was throwing him all kinds of looks and all kinds of schemes. And then the Chiefs defense, everyone kept saying, like on Twitter during the game last night, oh, load the box, stop the run. They were loading the box. They weren't sitting back waiting for Lamar Jackson to run. And in previous games where they were 3-0 against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, they had forced him to throw the ball later in the game when they started to stuff it, and they're able to stop the run. Last night, they couldn't do that at all. And that's really concerning. If they were loading the box, they couldn't stop the run. So, I just see the Chargers kind of coming into Arrowhead here. And, it's going to be a tight back and forth game, just like the Ravens and the Chiefs last night. I see Mahomes doing Mahomes thing. He's going to have a really good bounce back game. He's probably someone to look at on early lines on the props because, Mahomes really doesn't have terrible back-to-back games. So, you might want to look at those props as soon as they come out to see where he's set at. If they're set like 290, 295 for passing yards. But I think one thing is like teams have kind of figured out against the Chiefs, like you can just do this cover zero, sit back, don't blitz. If you're blitzing, that's what the Chiefs want. They want that so Mahomes can roll out and make those cross-body throws, get people open like Kelsey and all those things. So I think people are starting to figure out how to frustrate Mahomes at least, probably not stop him. And so I just see the Chargers kind of covering the 6.5 point spread. For me, it should probably be around like 5, 4.5, somewhere like that. What do you think?
Yeah, this is certainly a stay away for me now. I could see myself getting in on this as things go later in the week and maybe it moves one way or the other. I don't know, man. I don't love the idea of any team going into Arrowhead and staying within a touchdown. Mahomes was great last night. 343 yards, 11.1 yards per attempt. The interception maybe a tiny bit uncharacteristic, but he lived up to his end of the bargain and then some. And it really felt like the Chiefs were in command of that game. As I said, I thought I was cashing all my Chiefs tickets, my -2.5s, my -3s. Those felt great literally from that first pick six on. And what was that? the second play from scrimmage. It was 50 seconds into the game that the Chiefs got that pick six. So yeah, I feel as though the Ravens pulled one out in a way that the Chargers don't have in their bag for them. So that's where I would be a little bit concerned about this. I love Austin Eckler. I'm not sure if they are built to take advantage, if he's necessarily built, or if the Chargers offense is built to take advantage of the Chiefs on the ground in such a way that the Ravens did in Monday night or on Sunday night in week 2. So I think that is a little bit of a stretch to ask for them. I think the Chargers are a very good team, and I think they can keep this one close. I just want to be I don't want to necessarily be outside of touchdown range being a loss for me, which is why as I look at this one now, I would personally be on Chiefs or nothing. How best do you think that the Chargers do ultimately take advantage of what they saw from the Chiefs defense in this game against the Ravens?
I think it just comes down to, Justin Herbert and the passing offense. Mike Williams is going to have that huge side advantage outside. Keenan Allen seems like he always is able to get open against the Chiefs. I just see the Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense kind of taking control through the air. And the Chiefs, the Ravens didn't pass a lot, but in week 1 against the Browns, they didn't get a lot of pass pressure against the Browns. So I just don't see them being able to put pressure on Herbert the same way the Cowboys did yesterday.
All right, we'll take a look. It's definitely one that, could see going in that direction. So if you like the Chargers, now might be the time to get it. I'm going to be on the other marquee game of the week for my first pick. It's Rams and Buccaneers, a monster game already, a couple of 2-0 teams. I mean, we could look back on this, DeWitt, and say that this was the game that decided who had home field advantage throughout the NFC. Seems maybe a little early to say, but that could ultimately be the case. The winner of this one, Rams at home, catching a point against Tampa. That just feels like too much for me. I feel like we should be, the Buccaneers, of course, have the luster of being the Super Bowl champions and returning everyone from that Super Bowl team, and they've looked great through 2 games. This is a much, much different defense they are going to see in week 3 than the ones that they've seen thus far in Atlanta and in Dallas. And I'm not saying that it's a different defense to the extent that the Rams are going to hold the Buccaneers to 13 points or 17 points. I'm not saying that. I just don't think they're going to be able to get the motor whirring in such a way that they have in the first 2 weeks. To me, this should be something more like a pick'em, or even the Rams favored by a point here. And so I think that this underestimates the Rams, how good they are offensively, how good they can be defensively. And the fact that they could play this game, they could force this game to be played in the low to mid 20s. And they're still going to give up something to the Buccaneers. They're still going to give up a little something to Tom Brady, who already has 9 touchdown passes on the season. But I do think that they could get this game played more at their pace than what the Buccaneers have been able to do to Dallas and to Atlanta. And frankly, Dallas wants to play the same sort of pace that the Buccaneers do. The Rams are much more of an efficient team than we think of them being as this up and down the field explosive sort of team. And Sean McVay, a little bit more conservative in some of his styles than you would necessarily think from a guy who has the reputation that he does around the league and in the fan base. So I think that this is one where the Rams just aren't getting enough respect after the first 2 games that they've had with beating the Bears, beating the Colts, beating the Bears comfortably, going into Indy. And maybe Indy's not necessarily the most challenging team in the world, especially right now with some of the deficiencies that they have offensively. But that's a quality defense on the road. You go into their town, you travel across a couple of time zones, you play a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff, and you do as well as the Rams did. I think they deserve a lot of credit for that and in holding off the Colts in the second half when they had made a charge to potentially win that game. So again, I think the number disrespects the Rams, doesn't put enough respect on what they've been able to do this season and the sort of team that they can be. So I like the Rams getting a point here. This one, again, I feel like this should be Rams -1 more than Bucks -1.
Do you think this is one where Vegas opened it at +1 for the Rams because they know that everyone's going to bet on Tom Brady?
It certainly could be the case, and I guess you could also be a little bit worried about the state of the Rams' run game. We know that Darrell Henderson left in week 2 with an injury. Maybe he's not ready for week 3. Sony Michel ran the ball well enough, but we're talking about a second half performance against a Indy defense that was already maybe a little bit gassed at that stage of the game and just frankly isn't as good as Tampa's defense. So I could see there being some fears about the Buccaneers defense being able to make the Rams one-dimensional and then what that does to them. But at one dimension, those looked awfully good through 2 weeks. And Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford clearly on the same page. And then again, I just think it's going to be a different world for Tampa in this game going on the road, being the road team for the first time this season. Yeah, that's right. First time this season that they go on the road. They go into this environment in LA against a very, very good Rams defense. I mean, I don't think it's a disrespectful thing to say about the Buccaneers that they should be 1-point underdogs in this game. And I think that we could see things start to swing in that direction. So I will take the free point on the Rams right now. I mean, that's where I'm sitting in this one as we start looking ahead into how things might move in week 3. We've also, of course, if you're listening to this show, if you're watching this show, you probably something of a gambling fan yourself. Our partners at BetMGM are here to make your gambling life a little bit better. Right now, you can bet 10 to win 150, plus get a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. All you got to do is go to betmgm.com and use the code TABEST. betmgm.com/TABEST going to do that for you. Bet 10 to win 150, plus a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. You have to take advantage of this offer from the king of sportsbook. And that 3-month subscription is not just a new subscription. If you are an existing Athletic subscriber, you'll get those free 3 months tacked on. So go ahead, check it out, betmgm.com/TABEST. Bet 10 to win 150, plus a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. All right, DeWitt, one more pick a piece here. We're both on totals and we're both on unders. Give us your under and why you like it.
For me, I'm going under 48.5 in the Falcons and Giants game. Looking at these two teams, I think they're two of the worst teams in the NFL right now, just not performing. You look at the Giants, how many times do they have a chance to win that game on Thursday Night Football? I mean, they just gave it away. Yeah, I mean, and then you look at Daniel Jones. He's not a rookie quarterback anymore. He should be making these plays, at least having situational awareness. I think Joe Judge, he didn't handle those in-game coaching situations very well on Thursday Night Football, and they should have clearly won that game. There was 4 or 5 chances they had to win that game. And then when I look at the Falcons, their offense just seems a little out of sync. Matt Ryan and new coach Arthur Smith just aren't clicking. The run game isn't going. If Cordell Patterson kind of stepping into this running back role when he's been mostly a return specialist for most of his career, a great one at that, but he's never been a starting running back, which is where it kind of seems like it's heading. I just don't see this turning into a back and forth game between these two teams. I just think, the Giants are just and we've been talking about this every time. I think we've bet against them both times. These are just they're just not a good football team. And I just don't think the Falcons are a good football team either. It seems like they're just kind of still recovering from that Super Bowl letdown. And Matt Ryan just isn't on the same page. In Calvin Ridley, he's struggling without Julio because I think Calvin Ridley got all those secondary targets last year because Julio had the number one coverage. Now the number one coverage is on Calvin Ridley, and it's he's not getting open, and he's not getting the looks from Matt Ryan that he expects either.
Here's where I will push back on that, and this is a stay away from me for now. Here's where I'm going to push back on you. These defenses have not looked great this season. The Giants gave up 30 to Washington in week 2. They gave up 27 and should have been in the 30s against Denver in week 1. The Falcons gave up 48 to Tampa, and there were some pick sixes in there actually. So 34 to Tampa, Tampa's offense in week 2, and they gave up 32 to Philly's offense in week 1. So concerns at all about the defenses being bad enough for the offenses that maybe are substandard to be able to take advantage of. There is talent on both offenses, that's for sure.
No, I'll give you that. And, maybe this is the week that Saquon Barkley bounces back.
10 days off.
Yeah, he's had 10 days off. He's got that secondary bye. It's kind of like a little mini training camp for him. Get in shape again, kind of make sure that his knee is feeling better. But we didn't see a lot of him on Thursday after that initial big run. So, I still think there's concerns there. I just, maybe Kenny Galladay gets it going. That's valid. I just don't see these teams I just kind of see this being a 17-14 type game. There's a score. They try and protect the ball. They're conservative in their offense because they're in the game. They want to win this game because they both see it as a winnable game. And they're just
both coaches play it really conservative because they don't want to be the first one fired in the NFL this season.
A little bit more concern, I think, for Joe Judge. I think Arthur Smith's probably got at least a leash that's going to get him into 2022 for Atlanta. But all right, so that's what you're on. Falcons and Giants under 48.5. I'm also looking at an under, and I'll come right out and say it. When I see 43.5 as a total, it feels almost like a sucker play to go under, because it's a hard number to come under in today's NFL. It just is. You don't see a ton of unders of 43.5. It's easy to get above that. It's easy to get to a 24-20 game, even for games that you think are going to be slow paced, games that are more defensively focused. It just doesn't take a lot to get to something like 24-20. But I think with the way these two teams play, that we're going to see a lot of defense in this game. And, the Saints were really exposed. I mean, let's go back to week 1 when the Saints put up 38 points. You have a Packers defense that has been the issue for that team in the last couple of years. Even in the back-to-back NFC Championship game seasons, the defense was clearly an issue for the Packers. You had some short fields for the Saints. I mean, you had Jameis Winston throwing for 5 touchdowns and 148 yards, the fewest yards passing ever in a 5-touchdown game. They had a lot of short fields they took advantage of. They had a lot of Green Bay penalties they took advantage of. It's not as though, not every 38-point game is created equal. And we saw that from the Saints offense in week 1. And then you go forward to week 2, totally shut down by Carolina. They will not be out of New Orleans for more than a month by the time this game is played. It's just a long time to be on the road, and you could see the disjointedness of their offense against the Panthers. On the other side, you have a New England offense that is happy, that wants to play slow, play conservatively, win games where they score 17 points or 20 points or 23 points. It didn't work out for them in week 1. They were basically a Damian Harris fumble inside the 5 away from scoring 23 and beating the Dolphins in week 1. And then they do it in week 2 against the Jets, where they put up 25 points. I mean, that's just where the Patriots are going to live. It's where their offense is built to live, and it's where their defense is built to hold other teams. So I think we're going to see the Patriots play a lot of under games this season. And I'm not buying the Saints offense to it. I just don't buy it. I think Alvin Kamara is the one above average player on that offense outside of the offensive line as well. And I just think that the Saints are still getting almost a little bit too much credit for what they did in week 1, even at this 43.5 number. This has the feeling of a 20-13 Patriots victory for me. I like the Patriots on the -3 as well, but we're sticking ourselves to 2 plays here, and I just like the under better. I just don't see either of these teams getting into the mid to high 20s in this one, and so long as that's the case, this one's going to come under 43.5.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the spread being 3 points. I mean, and we're kind of talking early lines here. I think that one's going to creep up a little bit. 3 points is like that key number, but I could see it going to 3.5, maybe 4 during the week. I was looking at air yard stats. Did you know that, both the Patriots and Saints are in the bottom 5 in the league?
I believe
air yards completed already. Obviously it's obviously like with Jones, it's Belichick is just saying, hey, don't turn over the ball. The defense is going to win this game for us. We can run the ball. We'll get, James White will run it. We'll jump off to James White. He'll go get 10 yards for you. It's really apparent what the Patriots are doing, and that's understandable because Bill Belichick's been playing that football for the last 2 decades. But, Jameis is just – he has a great arm. He led the league in touchdowns and passing yards a couple years ago, but it's don't turn over the ball, Jameis. And it's don't make any big plays and don't try and make any downfield shots. They're just dumping it off as well. So it just the unders – I would definitely lean the under here as well. But what are these 2 teams going to do against each other? That's the real key. And, I don't see the Patriots going up tempo, but maybe the Saints do. Maybe they do up tempo offense to try and throw the Patriots off their game because they know they want to slow them down.
Yeah. Maybe if you're going to try to, if the Saints feel as though they need to force New England out of the play that they want to go at, then maybe they do try to go up tempo. I just don't think they're built to do that. And we just had a whole summer of, Sean Payton trying to coach Jameis out of his previous mistake-ridden past and be this new sort of player. I just think we have 2 of the more conservative offenses in the league going against one another, and a good to great defense on New England side of the ball that can really control this game. I think the best unit as we go into this game, we have to think the best unit is the Patriots defense. And then you've got 2 coaches who want their quarterbacks to be conservative with what they do, and 2 teams who are happy to let their running games really dictate how their offense plays. So I just think that it all adds up to something that can come under 43.5. And even if I am something of being wrong in this one, I mean, 23-20 still gets me under. 26-17, 17-16 still gets me. Things like that get me under the numbers still. So I just feel like this is one where it would have to take a major changing of stripes, a pick 6, a blocked punt, a punt return, something like that. Some sort of quick strike anomalous score would have to be in play to get me out of the to get this out of the low 40s and into the mid 40s, where I would be suddenly looking at some trouble. So this is what I am on. Saints Patriots under 43.5. That's going to do it for this episode of Best on the board here at The Athletic. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube for those of you who watched, and on the podcast world for those of you who are just listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. We really appreciate all of that, as we are just new with this show and getting things up and running. And you can get yourself in the door at The Athletic still for another month, 50% off a subscription to The Athletic if you go to theathletic.com/best. Thank you again for checking us out here. For Andrew DeWitt, I am Michael Beller. Best on the Board returns on Thursday when we turn our eyes to the college football game and Thursday night football between the Panthers and Texans. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you then.